Hey everyone, picking up from the prior two videos, the first one being how to make that fishnet grid in Dallas, and the second one, how to identify those cells that are within close proximity to libraries or parks. I want to pick up and truly how to now join crime to that layer itself. As you can see here, again, hopped on the data portal, grabbed the police incidents, brought all of those in, selected incidents for 2024, and then I selected based on the neighbors category for simple assault. So if I were to open this, I scroll all the way to the end, and they have type of incident here. At the end, they've also pre-coded this to NIRS itself. So this helps you select or group these a bit easier than trying to do it yourself. Overall, there were about 124,000 different crimes so far for calendar year 2024. With that, I want to start with just a subset. So I chose simple assault. If you're familiar with Dallas's data portal, what they create and make available online only is adult. So the youth simple assaults are not seen in this data set. So keep that in mind. It's just under about 2,500 if you open this one so far for calendar year 2024. This is what's made available. They're excluded for a number of other reasons, but so far, this is what is made available. If you look at their simple assault of what's online versus CDE, they are quite different, but for our purposes today, this could be any crime type that you're doing this with to test. With that, now let's take a look of oftentimes at this point when we have crime data, we want to understand what is the spatial influence or the relationship between crime and some of these features of the environment. That could be, in our case, a library or park, or it could be bar, restaurant, bus stop, public transit, different types of housing, be it apartment complex, high density of that, a number of different features. So you want to understand, is there a spatial relationship with that? That's where there's even literature on crime generators, attractors, radiators, or absorbers. A lot of the Johnson work gets into that, but it is looking at one of those. To do that, you need to start to identify crime and some of these features in the same space. So with that, we're going to take this grid system that we've already created and join the crime data to that. At the same time, you might wonder, well, maybe the libraries have a better relationship with crime at 1,000 feet or say 3,500 feet versus the 2,500 we originally gave it. We can test that. So again, I'll show how to make another one. We'll bring in the crime data. And what you can do at that point, once you all have this in an attribute table, is you can test this. You can first identify, is there a correlation? And then you can start to model, is one stronger than the other? Or is there a true cutoff point where one distance is better than another? Ratcliffe has some material on that that identifies some of those breakpoints with it. To start though, let's just start setting up this data set as a whole since we're working with a grid. Let's go ahead and open this attribute table again. This should be similar to what you saw before. Created this one, but let's go in and let's just add another couple fields. This one's going to be libraries. And let's say we wanted to test 1,000 feet. We can put that in here. We'll recalculate this just as another follow-up example to it. Let's make this one short again. But then we also need to add a field for our crime itself. So we have simple assault 2024. And it's not full calendar yet, but that's okay for our purposes today. This is still going to be a short one. Go ahead and hit save. If you remember correctly, I haven't set the default. And again, these are going to appear as null values. To make life easier, just come in, make these zeros. Save time, I should have clicked OK, but we'll still get there. So now we have two blank fields that we need to fill in. Coming back, we've already done this in the prior video, so I have libraries. I just want to reselect those, but identify the cells that are within 1,000 feet. So select by location. I was playing around with this, so I already have my Dallas grid within a distance, libraries, but I need to change this from 1,500 to 1,000. Click apply here. You can see I have 632 cells selected. Of those, I just want to give those a 1. So here, I'm just going to calculate and do a 1. Click apply, and we're good to go. So you can see here, there is a difference between cells that are within 2,500 feet versus 1,000 feet. You can see here where we have ones and where we do not. So this is what would allow you to start to test the presence of some of these features in the environment and their relationship with, in our case, simple assault as a whole. Is there a relationship? So can we test that? I'm not going to cover that in this video with correlation. You can do it in ArcGIS. There's a number of different ways through summary statistics, hop into the notebook and just run it through Python itself. A couple different ways. Pick your poison on your best way that you like to test some of your descriptive statistics as a whole. With that, though, we now have our crime incidents that we want to join to this. So at the end of the day, we want to understand simple assault's relationship with the presence of a library or a park. To do so, we already created a field. You need to now join the points to the polygon. So if I zoom in, they fall within grid cells. So I want to get a count of how many there are. There's a number of different ways to do this. I've done it this way for a number of different ways. Or a number of different years. So how I show you, I don't do this every time, but if I'm trying to do it short and sweet, it is pretty quick and easy to do. So I want to join my points to the fishnet. So I'm going to right click on my fishnet, join and relate. I'm going to add a spatial join. Let me pull this over to the screen. And the join features are going to be the simple assault incidents and the intersect. In the fields, truly, I'm going to leave everything in. When you join this into it, it's going to add a field at the beginning that's going to be your join count. So it's going to be a count of how many crimes or points are within each grid cell. I'm going to use that to recalculate and then remove the join. If you want to get in the habit of creating permanent joins, you can do that here. What I would also recommend then is trimming down everything that you keep in that permanent join. Remember, we're aggregating from points to a polygon, a grid. So oftentimes this is just going to be the first record. So if you had 10 different crimes, the first one's going to appear with all of that information. Everything else, the other 9 aren't going to have that information retained, and honestly, you don't want it because you're aggregating up. So I'm not going to do that one. Similarly, there's a number of different match options to it. Centroids are a good one to use in this situation. We already have points, but intersect is all we need. Click OK, and it's going to join this here. Give it a second to run. And now we have a join count. So if I were to double click, or I guess quadruple click down, we'll see where our highest, so it's put it in descending order. I could have right clicked and probably done it quicker. But we're going to see what cell has our greatest value in terms of simple assaults in Dallas for 2024 so far. I say that and hopefully I didn't just freeze ArcGIS, which we all know is bound to happen. So let's just reopen that. That's just about my luck. There we go. So my join count, we have a couple cells here that have 13 simple assaults in them. You can see a couple are highlighted just right in this region here. That's what I want to see. But now I want to take this join count information and put it over in my simple assault. So I want all the counts to it. So I did select these, so I'm just going to clear that out. Now I'm going to come into simple assault, calculate field, and I just want to make this my join count field. Hit apply. It's truly taking those counts of simple assaults and just moving it over to that Dallas fishnet layer specifically. Again, you can create a different field within that join and do it that way. A couple different ways to do it. This is one of the first ways I did it. And for what I use it for, mostly if it's just a one-off, pretty quick. So I'm happy with that. If I were to do this for a number of different feature layers or different points and trying to join it, I'll write some syntax to do it a bit quicker, but this is a pretty simple and cut way to do it. With that, we can now see we have similar values, or the same values, I should say, across both of these. If I come back in now and come to join and relates and remove all joins, even as I remove that, it's going to still retain the information that's within it. So I still have my high cells here. So now I could go and test some of these relationships. What does it look like for simple assault occurrence and being in close proximity to the library at 1,000 feet or 2,500 feet? Or what's it look like for parks at 1,500 feet? This starts to combine multiple layers together to create somewhat of a risk map for you to work with, to start to identify what features of the environment increase risk for crime occurrence as a whole and start to understand those relationships. With that, I'm not going to get into the testing of that now. Do that down the line, but this is the final video of the 3-part series. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Until next time, take care.